son or daughter has been brutally killed by a monster. You now have no chance of ever seeing them again in this lifetime. I think unanimously we would all want the best, most fitting punishment for this criminal. In my opinion, that would be life in prison with no chance of parole. This would force them to sit in prison with no distractions from the outer world and think about the mistake that they had made and how that would affect them for the rest of their life. I would like to advocate for the abolishment of the death penalty because I feel this is the best way to give justice to those victims and the victims' families. According to the National Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty, or the NCADP, it states that the diminished use of this will eliminate the flaws and failures of the death penalty that are more apparent than ever. I believe that we should abolish the death penalty for three main reasons. I believe housing someone in prison for their whole life is the best and most fitting punishment. It is also more expensive to execute someone than to house them in prison for the rest of their life. And it eliminates the risk of later finding out that someone is innocent of their charges after they are already executed. If you are ever in the unfortunate enough situation to experience a life-changing event, such as the murdering of a family member, we would all want the punishment to be the most fitting. I believe forcing someone to sit in prison for the duration of their life and think about what they have done and how this affects them is the most fitting punishment. According to the United States federal government, crimes eligible for the death penalty would include treason, terrorism, federal murder, large-scale drug trafficking, and attempting to kill a witness or a juror or a court officer. I point this out because some people may say that the death penalty is only for crimes that are eligible for this. Although these are horrible crimes, they can still be punished by sitting in prison for the rest of their life. The alternative to the death penalty would be spending life in prison. According to the Encyclopedia of American Prisons, a life without parole sentence means that you are in a legal sanction for the remainder of that criminal's natural life. A life without parole sentence would ensure that they are behind bars for the rest of their lives, so families don't need to worry that just because they are not being executed that they will have every chance of getting out. David R. Doe, a death row lawyer, gives a quote, "I've had clients who have wanted me to fight for them, and when I won against the death penalty, they have said that I betrayed them. This is extremely important because it shows that the criminals would choose death penalty over life in prison, which would make it the easier option out. For those living in states where the death penalty is legal, there is an additional element involved. How much is this going to cost my taxpayer dollars? It is ultimately cheaper to house someone in prison for the rest of their life than to put someone on death row and execute them." According to Judy Hare, victim liaison and spokesperson for the California Crime Unit, says alternatives for the death penalty is the way to go because the death penalty costs Californians over $117 million per murder victim. Over 20 years, that is $2.34 billion that taxpayers could have saved or put towards something else besides the execution of criminals when they could just be housed in prison. A Seattle University did a study on the cost of the death penalty versus the cost of life in prison without parole. They found that a case of life in prison without parole costs about $740,000 a person, while the cost of someone being on death row and then being executed is $1.26 million. This is a very dramatic cost difference and makes it very important. When the government puts as much money into something as they do, it becomes a very controversial topic as to if we should be spending this much money on it and whether it's worth it. If you could save any money on criminals and put it towards something to better the country, I think everyone would agree with that. If you are still not convinced, there is one more factor to consider. There is always a possibility that there will be an error in evidence or an error in trial. If you convict someone of a crime they did not commit and execute them for it, there is no way to bring their life back. According to the NCADP, as of October 2015, we have executed over 1,114 individuals. 156 of these individuals have been exonerated. To be exonerated means you are found innocent of your charges and dismissed from prison and all your charges are dropped. Can you imagine if these individuals would have already been executed? There would be nothing we could do to get their life back and give them to their families. A real-life example of this is the case of Randy Steidle. Randy Steidle was convicted of murdering husband and wife, Dyke and Karen Rhodes. He spent over 17 years in prison, 12 of which were on death row, and then he was found to be innocent and that police officers had actually tampered with the evidence to frame him. If If he would have been killed, he would have been injustice and held in prison and executed for a crime he had nothing to do with. I found this to be a very crucial argument because we can never give a life back, and although we cannot give years on someone's life back, at least we can return them to their families. There are many reasons why I feel the death penalty is cruel and unusual punishment. It is viewed by many, including some criminals and legal officials, as the easy way out. Instead of that, we should have them suffer behind bars for the rest of their life to think about what they did. Morally, financially, and ethically, the death penalty is not the option most fitting to bring justice to these individuals and their families. With enough information and knowledge, I feel that it is unanimously a better idea to help someone in prison for the rest of their life than tax.